The world is about to become a smaller place, the phenomenal Concord.
Using an Apple II is very easy.
Bell Textron Rocket Belt.
The 1970s promised a bold new future, with gadgets, gizmos, and ideas that were supposed to revolutionize our lives. So why did so many of them crash and burn? Were they too ahead of their time, or just completely misguided? Let's uncover the weird, wild, and downright useless in 50 innovative products from the 1970s that failed miserably. Polavision was Polaroid's dream of instant home movies back in 1977. Instead of waiting days to develop film, you could pop the cartridge into a small box, pump it a few times, and boom, watch your color clips in minutes. The trick was tiny red, green, and blue filters woven right into the film.
Picture cassette that reproduces the images instantly. I drop it in, and that's it. There's no projector or movie.
A clever bit of color magic. Sadly, it hit the market just as Betamax and Video Home System were getting ready to let people record television shows. Those bulky tape systems cost more at first, but they let you tape and rewatch programs repeatedly. Polavision, by contrast, gave you one shot per cartridge and offered no easy way to save your tapes. Folks found it too pricey and clunky, so Polavision soon slipped into the dustbin of gadget flops. In the 1970s, someone thought sweating in puffy pants would slim your waist. They called them trim jeans, or inflatable sauna pants. You'd strap a belt around your hips, pump air in until the pants puffed up, then sit in a chair and wiggle your torso with magic torso moves. The promise? Lose 6 to 9 inches around your belly, hips, and thighs in just 3 days. It sounds like a dream, right? But most folks found it silly and uncomfortable.
The revolutionary sauna pants. The at-home sauna experience that you can enjoy when you want to and where you want to, right in the comfort of your own home. All you do is wrap.
Pumping the pants was a chore, and sitting still while trying to shimmy felt awkward. Plus, any inches you lost were just water sweat, coming right back when you rehydrated. Soon, the trim jeans drifted out of sight, remembered only as a wild, wacky, short-lived fad idea. In the 1970s, Toastum introduced Danka toaster snacks, hoping to bring a mini pastry experience into your kitchen. These golden pockets looked flaky and inviting, filled with sweet fruit centers like strawberry or apple. You popped them into the toaster, watched the timer, and expected a crisp, warm treat. Sometimes the crust held firm, but other times the filling oozed out, leaving a sticky mess to clean. School kids loved sneaking extra snacks after homework.
When toaster pastries first came out, they were so unique, people overlooked the taste. But now that the novelty's worn off, people want their toaster pastries to do more.
And busy parents liked the quick prep. However, the delicate pastry edges often burned or tore, frustrating everyone. As toaster snack trends shifted, Toastum replaced Danka with simpler shapes and sturdier shells. Still, for a fleeting moment, these snacks promised a taste of continental flair right at home, then vanished almost as quickly. In the early 1970s, Vanguard Records rolled out a way to make music jump out from all around you. 4-channel sound on reel-to-reel tape. Soon, vinyl lovers and car stereo fans could buy 8 tracks and albums promising surround sound bliss. But here's the catch. You needed special decoders or fancy receivers to hear the extra channels. Early decoding tech was hit or miss. Sometimes channels bled together or vanished altogether. Fans got frustrated, and record makers switched back to the trusty stereo long plays everyone already knew and loved.
And this also came in the estate sale. I've got this on a Dutton Vocalion SACD, I believe. And I need to listen to both, and I can compare them, and that should be super cool.
Despite later improvements by sound guru Peter Scheiber and systems like Columbia's Stereo Quadraphonic, 4-channel records never took off. They remain a neat footnote in audio history, proof that more isn't always better. Atari Pong burst into arcades and homes in the 1970s, becoming one of the first video games to reach millions. With simple black and white graphics, 2 paddles, and a bouncing square ball, it mimicked table tennis in a digital form.
We're teaching these kids how it was for the old folks. All right, kids.
Players twisted knobs to move paddles up and down, trying to keep the ball in play. Pong's catchy beeps and blinking screen drew crowds in shopping malls and bars. It sparked a new era of electronic games and inspired future consoles. Yet, the original cabinets were bulky, the gameplay repetitive, and there were no power-ups or storylines. Today, you can find Pong on tiny handheld devices or play it through software emulators online. Still, nothing beats clicking those chunky knobs and hearing that first ping. It remains a pure, simple joy. In 1979, Clairol mixed yogurt into shampoo, hoping to sell the idea of creamy, natural hair care. But shoppers scratched their heads. Was it food or a hair product? A few brave souls even sniffed the bottle, half expecting a snack. Despite the good intentions and the potential benefits of protein and lactic acid for hair, people stuck with their trusted bottles instead.
Clairol's put yogurt with natural organic protein into new, shimmery, shiny touch of yogurt shampoo, so rich it makes your hair.
Shelf space cleared out quickly, and yogurt shampoo vanished almost as fast as it arrived. Today, it's remembered as a wild experiment in beauty aisles, a reminder that natural only succeeds when the message is crystal clear. In 1972, breakfast cereal got a swooping hero, Baron von Redberry. Think of a World War I pilot in a berry red uniform, flying through your milk and turning it into sweet fruit punch. His cereal was crunchy oat bits mixed with berry marshmallows, and each bite tasted like fruity clouds. On television, he'd roar, "Baron von Redberry is der berry goodest cereal."
Hello, I'm Baron von Redberry with my new berry-flavored oat cereal to make a fantastic landing in the snow.
Drawing laughs and hungry kids, but his rival, Sir Grapefellow, answered back, "Tally-ho! Sir Grapefellow is the grapest." It was a friendly cereal war under the table. Soon, shoppers grew tired, and both cereals faded away, leaving only old boxes on dusty shelves. Despite catchy jingles, they couldn't outlast classic brands. Collectors now hunt for boxes at flea markets. Just as the cereal aisle began clearing out its airborne mascots, another breakfast experiment was heating up, though it wouldn't stay on shelves for long. Digital audio tape, DAT, was Sony's late 1970s gamble for perfect audio in a neat cartridge. Fans dreamed of crisp playback and flawless copies, but the decks cost over $600 and each tape sold for more than $10. Copy protection rules made recording tricky, and record labels sued over possible piracy.
The digital audio tape, or DAT, has been called the Wonder Tape Recorder. Its ability to reproduce sound is so good, it's got the music industry worried. They're afraid
Hobbyists stuck with cheaper cassettes or vinyl, which were familiar and reliable. By the mid-1980s, compact discs arrived with clearer sound and lower costs. Digital audio tape then slipped into studios for backup and mastering, but never found a place in living rooms everywhere. Consumers watched hopes fade as prices stayed high. In the early 1970s, Firestone rolled out its 500 tire, promising drivers a buttery smooth ride and tread that would outlast the competition. Car owners snapped them on, picturing carefree road trips, until a chilling crack echoed across highways as sudden blowouts sent cars swerving off course. Reports flooded in of failures at high speed, injuries stacking up, and lawsuits piling onto Firestone's doorstep.
Steady highway speeds compared to our original equipment belted bias tire. The Steel Radial 500 can give you up.
Before long, more than 14 million of those faulty tires were yanked off shelves in one of the largest recalls in history. The Firestone 500 saga stands as a clear warning. Shortcuts in safety testing can have explosive consequences. In the mid-1970s, the Apple II burst onto the scene as one of the first personal computers built for home users. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak designed a machine that didn't require a room full of wiring or advanced coding skills. It sported color graphics, a full keyboard ready for typing, and expansion slots where you could plug in extra memory or a floppy disk drive.
To affirm its commitment to this winning product, Apple has enhanced the Apple II.
It even booted into beginners' all-purpose symbolic instruction code so you could start writing your own programs right away. Schools used it for teaching, Families experimented with simple games, and hobbyists shared software on cassette tapes. Priced at around $1,300, it felt like an investment, but hundreds of thousands flew off the shelves. The Apple II helped spark today's world of laptops and smartphones you carry everywhere. Sony Trinitron color television ruled the 1970s. Instead of the curved shadow masks of old sets, Trinitron used a vertical aperture grille, giving images crisper lines and brighter colors. Big, boxy, and often encased in gorgeous wood paneling, these televisions glowed with richer reds and deeper blues. Families gathered around during Saturday morning cartoons or Sunday night news.
Everybody knows there's more than one way to look at the world, and Sony's world-renowned Trinitron TVs are well worth looking into.
Marveling at sharper details and fewer flickers, the set's signature Trinitron badge became a mark of quality. By the end of the decade, competing brands scrambled to match Sony's breakthroughs. Though today, we stream on flat, wall-mounted screens, vintage collectors prize original Trinitron models for their picture warmth and iconic look. Smell-O-Vision burst into cinemas in the 1970s, promising to release matching scents as action played on screen. Audiences expected fresh ocean breezes, rose petals, or sizzling steak aromas at just the right moments. Instead, odors drifted too slowly, often arriving after the scene ended or failed to spread evenly across dark theaters.
Smells like gunpowder and freshly brewed coffee are stored in canisters behind the theater and piped in at the right time.
Viewers joked that every film smelled like stale popcorn and mystery stew. Projectionists saw extra hassle hooking up scent pipes and cleaning residue. Studios dropped the system after a few showings. Smell-O-Vision remains a curious footnote, a bold but flawed bid to awaken a sense that movies keep dormant.
In the 1970s, the medical industry experimented with nuclear-powered pacemakers.
It's meant a lot because since Jennifer's had the pacemaker, there's been a complete change in her. She's grown in size.
Using plutonium-238 as a long-lasting energy source. Unlike traditional battery-operated models, these devices promised lifelong functionality without battery replacements. However, the risks far outweighed the benefits. If the pacemaker was damaged in an accident or during surgery, it could leak radioactive material into the body, leading to cancer and radiation poisoning. Additionally, disposal was a major issue. These devices couldn't simply be discarded due to nuclear contamination risks. By the 1980s, the introduction of safer lithium-based pacemakers made this radioactive experiment obsolete. Today, atomic pacemakers remain a bizarre relic of the past, with strict regulations on handling the few that still exist. The Chrysler turbine car was an automotive marvel in the 1970s.
Love the sound, the smell of jet fuel in the morning. That's it. Jay, it's amazing the craftsmanship that...
Designed to run on jet fuel, diesel, or even alcohol. Unlike conventional engines, its gas turbine motor had fewer moving parts, reducing maintenance needs while delivering a futuristic hum. However, its excessive heat production was a major drawback. The exhaust temperature was so high that it could melt nearby objects. Additionally, it produced hazardous emissions, posing serious air pollution risks. Another problem was its slow acceleration and poor fuel efficiency, making it impractical for everyday use. Though Chrysler built 50 prototypes, most were later destroyed to prevent technology leaks. While the concept of turbine cars remains fascinating, their environmental and safety concerns ultimately led to their disappearance from the market. While the Chrysler turbine car was a fire hazard on wheels, it wasn't the only invention from the 1970s that posed a serious combustion risk. But what if the danger was lurking inside homes rather than on the road? One of the most bizarre inventions of the mid-20th century was the X-ray shoe fitting machine, found in thousands of shoe stores throughout the 1950s and 60s.
Eventually, by the late 50s, these machines were banned for operation here in the U.S.
Marketed as a modern and scientific way to ensure a perfect shoe fit, the device allowed customers, including children, to place their feet inside an unshielded X-ray chamber. The machine would then emit radiation to produce a live skeletal image, letting customers see how well a shoe fit their bones. However, prolonged and repeated exposure to ionizing radiation significantly increased the risk of skin damage, cancer, and genetic mutations. With mounting health concerns and lawsuits, these machines were phased out in the late 1970s, and strict regulations were placed on public radiation exposure. The dangers of unchecked radiation in retail stores raised serious health concerns, but exposure to toxic substances wasn't limited to shoe shopping. What if a common, everyday necessity silently poisoned millions through the air that they breathed? During the 1970s, asbestos, once considered a miracle material for its heat resistance and durability, was unknowingly exposing people to deadly health risks. Hair dryers manufactured during this period contained asbestos-lined heating elements, which prevented overheating but released microscopic asbestos fibers into the air with each use. These airborne particles, when inhaled, became lodged in the lungs, leading to mesothelioma, asbestosis, and lung cancer, diseases that often took decades to appear. As scientific evidence mounted regarding the severe health consequences of asbestos exposure, regulators and consumer advocacy groups pushed for a ban. By the late 1970s, asbestos-containing hair dryers were recalled and discontinued, replaced by safer ceramic and metal heating elements that did not pose the same deadly risks. Asbestos-laced hair dryers were finally recalled, but consumers still weren't safe from unexpected household dangers. What if a refreshing drink could become a pressurized time bomb waiting to explode in your hand? Thermite-based flares were marketed in the 1970s as roadside emergency signals to alert other drivers to a stranded vehicle.
All hail the god thermite!
Okay, all right.
That's bright.
However, these flares burned at over 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit or 2,200 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt metal, ignite gasoline spills, and cause devastating fires if mishandled. The thermite mixture, once ignited, could not be extinguished with water, making accidents nearly impossible to control. Additionally, the intense heat posed a severe burn risk if handled incorrectly. Reports of vehicles catching fire due to misplaced flares and concerns over civilian misuse led to their eventual phase-out. Today, LED emergency lights and electronic distress signals have largely replaced thermite-based flares, providing a safer, fire-free alternative for roadside emergencies. Unlike the plastic-tipped versions made for children, adult lawn darts were designed as a serious backyard game.
The mills, I need my keys back. I got to get home.
But with deadly consequences. These oversized darts featured steel tips, making them lethal projectiles capable of puncturing skulls and causing fatal injuries. Originally intended for recreational use, these darts quickly became infamous for gruesome accidents, particularly at parties where alcohol-impaired judgment reigned. Emergency rooms began reporting skull fractures, brain injuries, and even deaths caused by errant throws. The dangers were undeniable. A single misstep could turn a friendly gathering into a tragedy. After multiple fatalities and widespread public outcry, lawn darts were banned outright in most countries by the early 1980s. Today, only modified blunt-ended versions remain on the market. In the 1970s, candy cigarettes were a popular treat, mimicking the appearance of real cigarettes with sugar sticks, bubble gum, or chocolate wrapped in paper. Some even produced a puff of powdered sugar or cornstarch to resemble smoke, making them even more realistic. While seemingly harmless, these candies were criticized for glamorizing smoking and encouraging children to adopt the habit later in life. Studies suggested that kids who played with candy cigarettes were more likely to become smokers as adults, raising major public health concerns. As anti-smoking campaigns gained momentum, many countries and states banned candy cigarettes, while others restricted their sale. This marked a significant step in discouraging tobacco culture and reducing youth exposure to smoking influences. If candy could influence smoking habits, what kind of risk did fireworks containing toxic heavy metals pose? During the 1970s, lead-based paint was a common household product used on walls, furniture, and even children's toys due to its durability and vibrant color.
Once we're done, we take a look at the tip, and we can see that this is red, which means that we have lead.
However, as the paint aged, it would chip, crack, and release toxic lead dust, posing a severe health hazard, especially to children. Young kids, drawn to peeling paint, often ingested lead chips or inhaled dust, leading to neurological damage, developmental delays, learning disabilities, and even organ failure. Adults weren't spared either, with long-term exposure causing high blood pressure, kidney issues, and reproductive harm. As scientific evidence mounted, governments banned lead-based paint in residential buildings and consumer products in 1978. Older homes still pose risks despite the ban, requiring careful removal and remediation. Originally developed as a sedative and treatment for morning sickness, thalidomide was widely prescribed to pregnant women in the 1970s.
It was also difficult to recognize babies affected by the thalidomide disaster as one group of children suffering from the same condition.
Marketed as a safe and effective remedy for nausea, the drug had devastating consequences. It interfered with fetal development, resulting in thousands of babies born with severe limb deformities, missing or shortened arms and legs, and other congenital disabilities. The tragedy unfolded globally, with families left to cope with the irreversible damage caused by a drug that had undergone insufficient testing. As the scale of the disaster became clear, governments swiftly banned thalidomide, triggering major reforms in drug testing and approval regulations. The catastrophe remains one of the most infamous examples of pharmaceutical negligence in modern medical history. Once hailed as a miracle pesticide, DDT was widely used in the 1970s to combat agricultural pests and mosquito-borne diseases like malaria.
This newly discovered force has at long last gained the upper hand in our age-old struggle.
However, scientific research soon revealed its catastrophic environmental and health consequences. DDT accumulated in the food chain, poisoning birds, fish, and other wildlife, leading to population declines in species like the bald eagle due to weakened eggshells. In humans, long-term exposure was linked to cancer, liver damage, and reproductive issues. Public outcry, fueled by Rachel Carson's book Silent Spring, led to an extensive review, and in 1972, the U.S. banned DDT. While some countries still use it for disease control, its lasting environmental impact remains a cautionary tale of unchecked chemical use in agriculture. If a pesticide could devastate ecosystems, what about chemicals silently destroying the Earth's protective ozone layer? In the 1970s, mercury thermometers were a household staple, commonly used for measuring body temperature.
This allows the mercury to squeeze out and then get stuck up in here, and unless you force it back.
However, their seemingly simple design concealed a serious hazard. The liquid mercury inside was highly toxic. If a thermometer broke, the mercury could evaporate into a dangerous vapor, posing severe health risks when inhaled. Prolonged exposure could lead to neurological damage, kidney failure, and developmental issues in children. Additionally, improper disposal of mercury thermometers led to environmental contamination, affecting water sources and wildlife. Recognizing these dangers, governments worldwide began phasing out mercury thermometers in favor of safer digital and alcohol-based alternatives. By the early 2000s, most countries had implemented strict bans or restrictions, marking the end of an era for this once common medical tool. In the 1970s, polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, were extensively used in electrical transformers, capacitors, and cooling fluids due to their non-flammable and insulating properties. However, these chemicals were later identified as highly toxic and persistent environmental pollutants. PCBs accumulate in the food chain, contaminating soil, water, and wildlife, and posing serious health risks to humans. Exposure was linked to liver damage, immune system suppression, reproductive issues, and an increased risk of cancer. Since PCBs do not break down easily, they continue polluting ecosystems long after use. In response, governments worldwide banned the production of PCBs in the late 1970s, though their safe disposal remains a challenge, requiring costly cleanup efforts to mitigate long-term contamination risks. Ephedra, once a popular ingredient in weight loss pills and energy supplements, was widely used in the 1970s for its stimulant properties.
Ephedra is no longer sold in the United States. It actually has been banned by the FDA.
Derived from the ephedra plant, it contained ephedrine alkaloids, which increased heart rate, metabolism, and fat burning. Marketed as a miracle solution for obesity and athletic performance, it quickly gained traction. However, users began experiencing dangerous side effects, including high blood pressure, heart palpitations, strokes, and even sudden cardiac arrest. Reports of fatalities and life-threatening complications led to intense scrutiny by health authorities. After numerous lawsuits and medical studies confirmed its serious risks, the FDA banned ephedra in 2004, making it one of the few dietary supplements to be completely outlawed due to public health concerns.
Imagine a bike that lets you steer not just the front wheel but the back wheel too. That's the swing bike, a wild ride first sold in the mid-1970s after Ralph Belden got a patent for it in 1974. You could twist your back wheel to switch directions or pull off neat tricks. At first, it looked cool in the same wheelie bike style as popular chopper bikes.
And the bike isn't just going to fold over. Then you'll start to feel comfortable on the swing bike. You'll start swinging a little bit. Start steering left to right. And then what you're just going to find yourself doing.
And later the company even made a BMX version. But people found it tricky to handle and too odd for a daily ride. By 1978, the swing bike faded away and its maker packed up. Today, it lives on as a funny footnote in bike history. Proof that sometimes 2 steering wheels are just one too many. Riding it remains a curious challenge. But if steering a bike from both ends wasn't strange enough, another bold invention was about to test just how far instant gratification could really go. Laserdisc arrived in 1978 as the first home video format on an optical disc. These big, 12-inch silver plates looked like oversized compact discs of the future. Because they used analog video, their picture and sound quality surpassed both Video Home System and Betamax tapes. But the players cost a small fortune, and you couldn't record television shows onto them.
But most discs have about 45 minutes. With a standard movie of 90 minutes, that requires 2 sides, so a whole movie often fits one disc. If it's a longer movie...
People loved movie-quality playback, yet hated the high price and lack of recording. To watch a new disc, you had to buy or rent each movie, and discs were bulky. Still, a fan club grew around Laserdisc's crisp video for film buffs who didn't mind splurging. Its makers kept making players until 2009, but it stayed a niche toy rather than a living room staple. Today, it's a collector's dream for retro geeks. Back in the 1970s, the big box sitting under your television screen or hugging your desk was powered by a cathode ray tube. This glass vacuum tube fired electrons at painted metal plates, drawing every color and shape you saw. The screen had a gentle curve, and you could feel a tiny hum from the magnets inside. Watching Saturday morning cartoons or typing homework on these bulky displays felt futuristic, but the weight was immense, and the edges were deep.
Ultimately, the color of the screen is determined by what sort of phosphorus mixture is used to coat the inside. Some monochrome screens are green, some are black and white.
Moving them required 2 people. As liquid crystal displays and light-emitting diode screens emerged in the 1990s, flat and light, cathode ray tubes slowly retired to basements and garages. Still, people who remember that soft glow, the occasional flicker, and the sound of warm glass feel nostalgic about early screens. They paved the way for displays. Imagine a giant metal frisbee lifting off the ground, all without a pilot on board. That's exactly what John West dreamed up in 1975 at his small Surrey workshop. After 2 years of tinkering, his 30-foot skyship quietly slipped into the air near Bedford, guided only by radio signals. It was a neat trick, Britain's first flying saucer, but the real world wasn't ready.
It was a maze of challenges, and the biggest challenge that the concept faced was the pitch instability.
The controls were finicky, weather played havoc, and onlookers soon lost interest. no full-sized, people-carrying versions ever took off. Still, isn't it fun to picture those early pioneers huddled around their radios, cheering as a saucer floated skyward? Even if it never became mainstream, West's creation reminds us how wild ideas can briefly brush the clouds. But if airborne saucers weren't quite ready for takeoff, another invention was aiming to lift something else entirely: your listening experience. In August 1975, advertising whiz Gary Dahl pulled off a joke that made him rich. He sold ordinary rocks as pets, complete with cardboard boxes, ventilation holes, and straw bedding. At a San Francisco trade show, buyers laughed and snapped up orders by the thousands. For 6 months, everyone wanted a pet rock: kids, office workers, even grandparents. But by early 1906, the novelty wore off. Stores marked them down, and the rocks sat on shelves, stoic and uncomplaining.
The loving pet rock that you've got him for Christmas. Today's Christmas spot, we're having a look. I'm going to put him back to bed.
Dahl had sold nearly 1.5 million copies, pocketing a tidy profit. But once the laughter faded, so did the fad. Today, pet rocks live on as a playful reminder that sometimes the silliest ideas spark the biggest buzz, if only for a little while. In 1970, Bell Telephone attempted to sell the picture phone, bringing video calls to your living room. It looked straight out of a sci-fi show, but the $160 monthly fee, or over $1,200 today, scared most people off. You could chat face-to-face, but only one person on each end. So, family meetings or work conferences were out of the question.
Good morning, Mr. Wells.
Nice to see you, Cal. I guess Ben filled you in on the problem.
He did, and I think I've got an answer for you.
Technically, it worked, but a bulky box and grainy image made it feel more like a novelty than a must-have. Bell tried again with Videophone 2000 in later decades, yet interest stayed low. Now, old units pop up at auctions as a quirky slice of tech history. Sony's Betamax hit stores in 1975, promising sharper video and solid build, dream gear for home movie lovers. Yet Sony wouldn't share its secret recipe, so other brands couldn't make Betamax players. Meanwhile, Japan Victory Company opened licensing for Video Home System.
Introducing Easy Beta from Sony. Norman Betamax. A simple idea in video cassette recorders. Norman, play.
Filling stores with cheaper, compatible machines and rental tapes. Before long, Video Home System tapes were everywhere, and Betamax slipped from top dog to also ran. By 1988, Sony's share tumbled from nearly 100% to a mere 10%. In the end, Betamax reminds us that being the best tech isn't enough. You've got to let people use it however they want. In 1972, Downy Flakes debuted with toaster-ready egg patties shaped like thick discs. The concept was exciting, a quick breakfast alternative. But people found them tough and bland, more like hockey pucks than a treat. Some tried to save them with toppings like syrup or cheese, but the effort fell flat. By 1975, Downy Flakes had disappeared from shelves. This brief stint in the breakfast aisle shows us that not every culinary experiment succeeds, and sometimes breakfast needs more than a quick spin in the toaster. The twist and tone was a 1970s fitness craze that promised fat burning with minimal effort. The setup was simple: stand on a revolving platform, twist your body, and hope for results. Unfortunately, the magic never arrived. People tried it, got dizzy, then moved on.
Hold both feet firmly in place, bend your knees, and gently begin to twist at the waist in
Today, it sits in corners, reminding us that not every idea takes off. A bit of a fad, but it's certainly a quirky moment in fitness history that didn't quite work out the way its inventors hoped. Emerging in the mid-1970s, the Concorde flew across the Atlantic at Mach 2, cutting travel time between New York and London in half. Its gleaming silhouette and plush cabins captured imaginations, offering champagne breakfasts above the clouds. Yet, every marvel comes with a cost: sky-high fares, limited flights to elite travelers, and its thirst for fuel spectacularly drained wallets faster than the clock raced.
A section of Concorde airborne. At the ceremony, the majority of the Concorde customer airlines were represented by senior captains and stewardesses.
Sonic booms rattled coastal towns, sparking protests and flight restrictions. A tragic crash in 2000 sealed its fate, and mounting losses grounded the fleet in 2003. Concorde proved that ambition can soar, but sometimes reality keeps the sky grounded. In 1972, the Magnavox Odyssey became the world's first home video game console, and it looked nothing like the systems we know today. Designed by engineer Ralph Baer, this boxy unit connected to your television and included plastic overlays that you taped to the screen to add color backgrounds.
Themselves with Odyssey, the electronic game of the future, and the family's best.
The games were simple: bouncing balls, chase scenes, and even a light gun shooting target. There were no cartridges, just circuit boards that plugged directly into the console. Despite its basic black and white graphics and simplistic sound effects, families gathered in their living rooms, taking turns with controllers that resembled chunky paddles. The Odyssey sold tens of thousands of units and proved that electronic gaming could be fun at home. Its success sparked the explosion of consoles that followed. Next up, a television that changed how we watched shows. AVE Mizar began in 1973 as a daring blend of a Ford Pinto chassis and a Cessna Skymaster fuselage. Its goal was thrilling: cruise on roads, then unfold wings and soar above traffic. Early fans cheered the test flights.
From its point of production and distribution in Southern California, the Mizar air car has wide-reaching possibilities for consumers.
During a trial, a key support strut failed, and the prototype plunged into a field. The crash claimed the life of the company's co-founder, halting the dream. Engineers faced endless weight and balance issues, and costs spiraled higher. Regulators refused to back the project after safety concerns mounted. By its end, AVE Mizar remained an icon of hopes grounded by reality. Bell Rocket Belt appeared in the mid-1970s as a jetpack, built to lift one person with hydrogen peroxide fuel. Strap it on, ignite steam jets, and launch upward. Demonstrations at air shows amazed crowds as pilots hovered just feet above the ground. Yet, the thrill lasted 21 seconds before fuel ran out.
10-month program completed in June 1961, the Bell Aerosystems Company, under contract to U.S. Army Transportation Research Command.
Top speed reached 60 miles per hour, but pilots dangled exhaust streams that stung their eyes. Steering remained clumsy and no backup safety system existed. With a hefty price tag and no way to fly longer, the Rocket Belt stayed a stunt device. Personal flight stayed only within science fiction.
The 1970s were the golden era of polyester fashion, with sleek synthetic suits dominating disco dance floors and office wear. While polyester was cheap, wrinkle-resistant, and stylish, it came with a hidden danger: extreme flammability.
All of today's Dacron polyester at prices that won't cost you a fortune. Now I see romance.
Unlike natural fibers such as cotton or wool, polyester melted upon ignition, fusing to the skin and causing severe third-degree burns. The risk was even higher when exposed to open flames, cigarettes, or kitchen stoves, leading to horrifying injuries. As reports of polyester-related burn accidents surged, consumer safety advocates pushed for stricter fire resistance standards in clothing production. By the late 1970s, flammability regulations were introduced, and manufacturers began treating fabrics with fire-retardant chemicals, ensuring modern synthetic clothing was far less hazardous. During the 1970s, fiberglass insulation became widely used in homes and commercial buildings.
We are using fiberglass bats with a paper face, and this is the vapor barrier, right?
Yes, it is, yep.
Due to its lightweight structure and thermal efficiency. However, early formulations of this insulation were highly flammable, posing a serious fire hazard. If exposed to an open flame or high heat, the insulation would ignite rapidly, fueling fires instead of preventing them. To make matters worse, burning fiberglass released toxic fumes containing formaldehyde and other carcinogens, endangering anyone trapped inside a burning building. As the risks became evident, stricter fire safety regulations led to the phasing out of highly combustible fiberglass insulation. Today, flame-retardant alternatives are the standard, ensuring buildings remain insulated without the deadly fire risks of their 1970s predecessors. For much of the 20th century, leaded gasoline was hailed as a revolutionary fuel additive.
It will be closed automatically, so don't manually push it hard for more gas because that won't be good for your car.
Improving engine performance and reducing knocking in car engines. However, by the 1970s, scientists discovered that lead emissions from vehicle exhaust were poisoning the air with devastating consequences. Neurological studies linked lead exposure to brain damage, lower IQ, and behavioral disorders, particularly in children. Long-term exposure also contributed to cardiovascular disease, kidney damage, and reproductive issues. Despite strong opposition from the oil industry, environmental regulations gradually banned leaded gasoline in most countries by the 1980s. Today, unleaded fuel is the global standard, but the lingering effects of lead pollution from past decades remain a significant public health concern. The shift from steel to lightweight aluminum cans in the 1970s was meant to improve convenience and reduce manufacturing cost.
There we go, let's select the airing apparently to give it an air intake.
However, early aluminum pint cans had a critical flaw. They were prone to spontaneous explosions due to poor structural integrity and excessive internal pressure. Beer and soda manufacturers had miscalculated the amount of carbonation pressure aluminum could handle, leading to instances where cans burst without warning, causing lacerations, eye injuries, and even deep cuts. Supermarket shelves occasionally turned into shrapnel zones as cans popped unexpectedly. After numerous consumer complaints and injuries, beverage companies revised the can thickness and pressure resistance, ensuring that modern aluminum cans remain sturdy enough to contain carbonated beverages safely without the risk of unexpected explosions. For decades, radium-infused self-luminous watches were prized for their glowing dials, allowing users to read the time in total darkness.
Where many unfortunately died as a result of negligent instructions being provided, which led to ingesting of the material.
These timepieces contained radium-226, a radioactive element that emitted a continuous glow without requiring an external light source. However, the true danger lay in the wearers and the factory workers who painted the dials by hand. To achieve fine brushstrokes, these workers, mostly young women, were instructed to lip point their brushes, unknowingly ingesting radium. Over time, they developed horrific radiation poisoning, including jaw necrosis, anemia, and cancer. The Radium Girl scandal led to public outcry, and by the 1970s, radium watches were phased out and replaced by safer phosphorescent materials. Radium watches showcased how something designed for convenience could have deadly consequences. But what happens when a game meant for fun turns into a lethal backyard weapon? Polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, were widely used as flame retardants in furniture, insulation, and electrical equipment, marketed as a fire prevention breakthrough.
We can reduce PCBs in our environment and reduce PCBs in waterways all over.
However, studies soon revealed their high toxicity, linking them to cancer, liver damage, reproductive issues, and immune system disorders. These chemicals didn't just stay in furniture, they leached into the environment, contaminating air, water, and even food supplies. People unknowingly inhaled PCB particles or absorbed them through skin contact, leading to long-term health hazards. With mounting scientific evidence and public outcry, PCBs were banned in 1979 under the U.S. Toxic Substances Control Act. However, their slow decomposition means traces of these dangerous chemicals still linger in older buildings, posing risks even decades after their prohibition. The 1970s saw widespread use of heavy metal fireworks, creating dazzling displays, but with hidden dangers. These fireworks contain toxic metals like lead, titanium, and copper, which enhance colors and released harmful fumes and particles into the air. When inhaled, these pollutants pose serious health risks, including lung damage, neurological issues, and heavy metal poisoning. Additionally, the leftover residue contaminated soil and water sources, harming wildlife and ecosystems. Frequent misfires and accidental explosions also led to burn injuries, property damage, and even fatalities. As environmental and health concerns grew, regulatory bodies imposed strict bans and restrictions on fireworks containing toxic heavy metals, leading to safer alternatives with less harmful chemical compositions. Asbestos insulation was widely used in homes, schools, and commercial buildings due to its fire-resistant and insulating properties.
Immune system cells try and break down the asbestos fibers and become damaged and die.
However, as structures aged, asbestos fibers became airborne, posing a severe health hazard when inhaled. Prolonged exposure led to devastating lung diseases, including asbestosis, lung cancer, and mesothelioma, a rare but deadly cancer. Construction workers, factory employees, and even homeowners face serious risks without realizing it. Unlike other toxins, asbestos-related illnesses could take decades to appear, making early detection difficult. As medical research confirmed its dangers, governments imposed strict bans and regulations, phasing out its use by the late 1970s. Despite being banned, asbestos still lingers in older buildings, requiring specialized removal to prevent further exposure risks. Hazardous materials in homes were one thing, but how did a prescription drug cause one of the history's biggest medical disasters? Cyclamates were a widely used artificial sweetener found in diet sodas, candies, and processed foods, offering a calorie-free alternative to sugar.
Cyclamates have at one time produced cancer in rats. Their future may still be very much in question.
Initially praised for their ability to help with weight management and diabetes control, cyclamates soon became the center of a major health scare. Studies linked them to bladder cancer in lab rats, raising alarms about their potential carcinogenic effects in humans. As public concern grew, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration banned cyclamates in 1970, though some countries continued to allow their use. The controversy also led to stricter regulations on artificial sweeteners, prompting food manufacturers to seek safer alternatives like aspartame and saccharin. Despite ongoing debates, cyclamates remain banned in the U.S. today. During the 1970s, chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, were widely used in aerosol sprays, refrigerants, and foam-blowing agents were praised for their stability and efficiency.
That we see for the first time, chlorine levels are definitely going down, and ozone levels are responding to it.
However, scientists later discovered that these chemicals had a devastating environmental impact. When released into the atmosphere, CFCs break down ozone molecules, creating a gaping hole in the ozone layer, Earth's natural shield against harmful ultraviolet radiation. This led to increased risks of skin cancer, cataracts, and global climate disruptions. The growing environmental crisis sparked worldwide action, leading to the 1987 Montreal Protocol, which phased out CFC production and use. Though now banned in most countries, the damage remains, and efforts to restore the ozone layer continue through global environmental policies and sustainable alternatives. Glass fiber brake pads were widely used in the 70s as an alternative to traditional asbestos-based brakes.
Mechanics who are exposed to an asbestos hazard when changing brake shoes may eliminate the hazard by using this special attachment with the asbestos vacuum cleaner.
These microscopic fibers pose serious health risks as prolonged exposure led to diseases such as asbestosis, lung cancer, and mesothelioma. Mechanics and factory workers were particularly vulnerable due to constant exposure to brake dust. Over time, regulations were introduced to phase out asbestos-containing brake pads in favor of safer materials like ceramic and metallic composites. Many countries banned asbestos in automotive parts, significantly reducing health risks. Modern brake pads are designed with non-toxic materials, ensuring safety and performance without endangering human health.